we can start and then wait the others to join. Not to lose more time because schedule is quite tight. I would like to welcome you on behalf of the VCSP and others for this very important time discussion on digital repression. Okay. If you want to, before we start, if you want to take water and everything, water is over there. Yeah. I have pleasure today. I'm Maja Bjeloš from Belgrade Center for Security Policy. I will be moderating the session. I have 4 great speakers that will help me actually to get more insights on digital repression in Serbia and globally. Today with me are Jelena Sesar, Balkan researcher from Amnesty International, then Dušan Pokuševski, lawyer and program director of the Belgrade Center for Human Rights. With me is also our colleague from Poland, Zuzanna Sielska. She is disinformation expert from the Institute for South and East Europe, 3Cs Foundation. Last but not least important is our colleague from LabSHARE Foundation, Filip Milošević, who is actually working more on LabSHARE Foundation's emerging threat lab. He's focusing on digital forensic investigation, on countering surveillance, but also working to undermine digital, omnipresent digital dictatorship. So, discussion about digital repression is very timely and important for us. Only in this week and last week, we have witnessed in Serbia state-sponsored attacks against media, such as Južne Vesti, Krik, who were hacked in attempt to get and extract their data. We also learned about attacks on students and their account in order to actually censor them and remove them from digital online platform, and in that way influence their speech. We can say that we were also attacked as an organizers during organization of this conference as well. Maybe some of you received some suspicious emails from us because we were exposed to hacking attempts and attempts like the phishing of our accounts. So, and if I'm correct, Marco, I will use you to actually verify. We noticed a very suspicious attempt that someone wants to copycat our website. They created fake website for this conference. Yeah. So these are like the real environment in which we operate, and Amnesty last year did very thorough and very important investigation on attacks on different activists in Serbia and exposed that state was using different spywares in order to surveil and monitor activists in Serbia. Since the last year, I want to actually ask my colleagues Jelena and Filip, the first and foremost, to tell us in this, like the past year, what are the most significant new trends that we are observing in deployment of spyware, cyber attacks against human rights Serbia and globally, what has changed and what we are witnessing today. And then to Zuzanna as well, to shed more light on what is happening in a broader European context, and especially in Poland with propaganda and disinformation activities in this area. Jelena, I'm giving the floor to you.
Thanks, Maja, and thanks for the invite as every year. So maybe rather than speaking about the threats of spyware, maybe we can speak about the threats provided by digital surveillance broader. Because I think it would be, if we just spoke about spyware, we would be speaking only about one possible manner of attack. And I think when we are looking at the situation in Serbia and globally, we are talking about the multitude of different attacks which all fall under the broader name of the digital attacks. So the first model is what we have discovered while we were doing research here in Serbia, was that the Serbian authorities, just like many authorities in the many countries of the European Union, have been using what is called highly invasive spyware. And those are what everybody knows as Pegasus and Predator. These are extremely intrusive means that can turn your telephone into a microphone, into a camera, and can have access to all of your data, metadata, and your photographs, and all the data that is stored on your phone, and even the ones that have been deleted. And they can follow you in real time. Highly invasive spyware does not require access, physical access to your phone, and your phone can be accessed basically wirelessly in a way to where you would not even know potentially that you have been a target of these attacks. The second type is more locally developed and maybe less intrusive spyware. What we have discovered in Serbia, and something that Filip can maybe speak more about, is just the spyware that we called Novi Spy, but it was developed here locally by probably the State Security and Information Agency, BIA, which actually did require physical access to the phone. And while it's not as invasive as Pegasus and Predator, it also managed to turn the phone's microphone and video camera and collect a huge amount of information from people's phones while it was communicating with the servers in the authorities' institutions. And then in addition to that, one of the, I would say, more surprising findings of our research was that the authorities here were using completely legitimate technology, the digital forensic technology, which was produced by Celebrate, an Israeli-based company, which is used across the country by law enforcement agencies. And they were using it in a completely unlawful and illegitimate way to basically forcefully unlock the telephones and devices of people who were targeted, and then use that to infect those phones with spyware. So this is unprecedented, and until our research last year, there have never been cases that were documented of a legitimate tool, technology, that is being hailed as something incredibly effective in the fight of organized crime and terrorism, to be used in this way to target actually civil society. And then in addition to that, we can speak about other, maybe not, technologies that you were maybe thinking about here, but also that are becoming increasingly prevalent in Serbia and many European countries, and those are IMSI catchers. These are basically devices which could be kept in a briefcase or in a backpack. They're usually used in the context of protests, and they include an equipment that simulates a telecom antenna, and it basically tricks telephones of people who are present in that certain geographic space to connect to this technology, which in some cases can determine whose phones were present during that protest, but in some fewer cases, but that's a very advanced model to actually tap into those phones. And then on top of that, we have also biometric surveillance, which can never be proportionate, especially if it's used in cameras across town and cannot target specific people. And then finally, we're speaking about increasingly more widespread online abuse. We call that tech-facilitated violence. And this is something that Amnesty has documented globally. It seems to have incredible effect, particularly disproportionately affects women and girls in many countries globally. I don't think this is necessarily the case in Serbia, but it's not something that we have looked into. But globally, our research shows that women and girls seem to be disproportionately affected by online abuse, and that this kind of abuse tends to lead to also abuse in physical space in many cases. And I think this is something that was discovered in Serbia as well, particularly when it comes to attacks on activists and civil society and journalists, where online abuse often encouraged, sometimes initiated by people in authorities or close to the authorities, has actually led to physical abuse of these people. Needless to say, none of these digital threats are happening in isolation. They're part of a much broader crackdown on civil society and freedoms and rights. So if in a context in which civil society activists are being arrested, journalists are being sued for defamation, people who are only protesting are facing serious criminal charges and are being interrogated informally by police or BIA, of course, all of this has incredible chilling effect on the entire civil society, but it's also dramatically undermining the rights and people's ability to speak, to assemble, and it's also affecting their right to privacy.
Thank you for this introduction. I want to Filip, because SHARE Foundation for years raised the issue of massive surveillance. So what do you observe as a new thing? Is it like what Jelena already stressed, that the government or non-government actors just expanded very sophisticated tools they use, but also the targets are now much more broader?
Yeah, okay, so what I can maybe bring in this discussion is like what happens since the report came out, and about the different cyber attacks. Okay, you said also, Maja, in the beginning, it's account removals recently with students, account takeovers for media outlets. We have a lot of astroturfing, bot farms. We have website hacking recently going on. We're helping some media. But when it comes to spyware and forensic tools abuses, like it's 11 months since this report came out, and since then we're kind of in the dark. So we don't know what's going on at the moment. Back then, we were doing a lot of analysis of phones. A lot of these samples were turning out positive. And then, since this happened, the government denied that they were using, that there was any kind of abuse, any kind of spyware, that they didn't wrong use the forensic tools. But since then, we didn't find any new practically case, any new case. So basically, with the people who were detained after this period, we are still finding new cases from people being detained or attacked before the report. We also have shockingly new case that of one farmer that's actually been under surveillance now for a year. So he was detained in October last year, and his phone was infected until a week ago, which our colleagues, actually journalists, found out about. So basically, this target was infected for a year. His phone was infected with spyware, and screenshots and data were sending out to BIA. So we had no new cases. We were trying to find out. We were meeting people who were detained. We were approached by citizens and civil society members. We were trying to find any clues, and still we didn't. So I have several theories, maybe it's 2 or 3 theories why this is going on, why this is happening, that we are still in the dark. But it's probably none of these a single theory which is right, but it's probably the mixture of 3. So the first one is that after the report, actually they got scared and stopped deploying these kinds of tools, such as Novi Spy, and stopped abusing Celebrate, also because Celebrate company was not really happy to hear that their tool was abused. So they revoked the licenses, but then some journalists found out from Radio Free Europe that actually they have the new licenses and so on and so on. So basically maybe they just stopped doing this for a while. They are maybe regrouping, maybe they're procuring new tools, so we don't know. The second theory is that our investigation and what we do actually fails in finding out what they're doing right now, which means that our capacities are really low as a civil society. Like we maybe don't have a good sample, maybe we didn't check enough devices, maybe we don't have enough forensic expertise, maybe they have some new spyware that we cannot detect. We're not sure. I mean, I doubt it, but maybe we have on a global scale, we have some new tools, and there are new technologies and so on. But since we're working with labs like Amnesty and Access Now and Citizen Lab, I doubt that we wouldn't find something, but who knows? So maybe there's just, we just can't find it, and we need more resources, or we need more of a community to come in, like more journalists, more media outlets, more investigator journalists, trying to investigate what's going on in BIA and police. So we need more field work, I guess, and approaching more targets. And third theory is that actually with this report and with everything we did, we raised awareness among the targets. So now we know that most of the people being detained are actually not going to the detention with their device, which was not happening before. So now everyone knows that they shouldn't go with their phone, not only to the police station, but also to a protest. So people are either bringing their other devices, either if they see they're in some kind of dangerous situation, they just give their phone to someone else, or, you know, that's just like, I think citizens are now more aware because all of this going on. So if not, we had cases where people were detained with their phones, of course. They just pick you up from the street, they beat you up, they put you in the van. Some of these people approached us, and some of these phones were actually broken, or either factory resetted. So police would now maybe like intentionally break their phone, so we couldn't do the so-called consensual forensics and see what's going on. Did they do anything with them, with the phone? Obviously, they didn't infect it with spyware if they broke it, so they cannot use it, but maybe they used the forensic tools to extract the data and then just break the phone. So we couldn't find these exploits, which are really expensive. And the other things that was happening is that they would just factory reset the phone. So they might do this because they don't want us to find out, but they also might be doing this because there are some photos or videos that are compromising towards police and their brutality, so they're just wanting to make sure that nobody can use them, so they just break your phone and reset it. So this is something what's going on in the last 1 year. I really think that actually whatever of these is true, we need more investigation actually into this.
Thank you. So with the big onslaught, state onslaught on civil society, one part of the thing, like the story is that we also had to adjust and be more resilient, but the government is also trying to find the new ways how to get our data. I want to move to Zuzanna and ask her like on another front, because the information warfare is usually a key feature of the wars, and with the Russia's full-scale invasion, it was not only a military aggression, but also one important aspect was cyber attacks and propaganda battles of narratives in the Europe, and especially if you want to focus on Poland, to give us example what is new on that front, that is also important for digital space, information space, and information integrity.
Yes, thank you. Europe and also Poland facing many types of threats these days, but not only the visible ones, which is, of course, the war beyond our border in Ukraine, but also like the same cybersecurity things or cyber attacks. And lately in Poland, we are also facing growing risk of sabotage. Several such attempts have been recently prevented and uncovered by our Polish counterintelligence. And for me, the biggest threats are those invisible ones. So the psychological and the disinformation operations. And I think they are, in those which are the most invisible, but actually among the strategic ones, threats we are facing. And I will give you a recent example from Poland. So in September, Poland experienced sudden overnight wave of drone attacks. And some of the drones were crashed in Polish territory. Some of them were engaged by the Polish and its allies aircraft. But what made the event more horrifying, it was not only the physical danger, but also the informational dimension. And right after the attack, many accounts started to write, like they started to write about those attacks, and the social media was flooded by comments suggesting that the drones were Ukrainians, but they mixed it because they will write also that the drones were Russian or Belarusian, and they even said that there wasn't any drones. So the problem was they were mixing true with lies, and that played straight into the classic hybrid playbook of using kinetic action to create informational ambiguity. And it was deliberately spreaded, and it was also deliberate provocation to intent to intimidate and to taste NATO's response, but also to sow confusion and fear into the public. And that's why I think it's most dangerous thing, the disinformation operation, because they can divide our opinions, they can divide our societies, and make us feel unsure, and also they make us stop, believing or believe that the fake news are the real ones and they can spread it. And of course, we have three things, like three parts of the psychological operations, which is disinformation, and this is false information spread deliberately to manipulate. But we have also misinformation, and misinformation is also false information but spread unintentionally. And sometimes people, they don't know they are spreading fake news or false informations. They think it's a true. So this is a real danger. And also there is a malinformation, so they create, like they take true, taken out of context and use it to manipulate. And those three are real dangers because with that, I think we don't have many regulations and technological things to fight with that problem and with those threats in society, but also in the political level.
Thank you for this perspective. I would, when you mentioned like regulation, how to fight it, I want to actually turn to Dušan to ask. After we heard that actually the states are very much equipped with intrusive technologies, where is our legal framework? Can legal framework actually keep up with this rise of technology, especially that has been used in Serbia but elsewhere? Or are we actually seeing the deeper that entrenchment of digital control? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that when we are talking about the legal framework, I think that it is not only the topic in Serbia. I think that regulation throughout the Europe is, if I can say, a big issue, and the countries are trying to come up with answers, not just countries like even the activists and the international organization are trying to come up with a perfect response to the threat that digital technology possess nowadays and their implication on the human rights violations. So when we are talking about Serbia, and concretely just to rely on what Jelena and Filip said, if we're talking about spyware, even the Venice Commission stated that Serbia legal framework does not recognize spyware. It's neither prohibited nor it is in any other way allowed to use the spyware. So from the point of view of the civil society organization in Serbia, we think that everything that happened, especially with those revelations of the Amnesty report, we think that use of spyware is unlawful, and that all the cases of the surveillance using these intrusive tools by the police and security agencies are not within the legal framework. That's why we initiated every single legal mechanism that was in our hand. I will touch upon that a bit later, but regarding the legal framework, yes, we have provisions in our criminal procedural code and also in the Security Agency Act regarding the surveillance that also reflects also on the digital surveillance. And having in mind those provisions, I cannot say that our legal framework is hugely false and not in line with international standards, because if you read those provisions, it is clearly that it is provided by the law, so therefore the citizens can know in what situation and what circumstances surveillance can be in place. Then our laws also guarantee the proportionality of the use of such measures, and also legitimate aim is also set up in the Constitution, but also in those two laws that I also mentioned. What we are missing is something that maybe is bigger than this topic that we are talking today, and this is the very problematic rule of law principle in Serbia, and the capture state and the institutions that are not free to act in accordance with the law. And now I will connect it with those cases. Since we initiated every single mechanism, we filed criminal complaint in every case, that we had this digital forensic analysis. We also initiated procedures before the independent institutions such as Ombudsperson and Commissioner for the Protection of Personal Data. And now, as Filip said, 11 months later, we do not have any single response from the institution in any of those cases. Regarding the criminal procedure, all cases are in pre-investigative phase. So far, we know that only in one case, prosecutor office asked from the police to invite the victim to give the statement, but this is, as I said, the pre-investigative phase, and he was asked as a citizen to give the information so the prosecutor can act upon it. But still, we don't know what was the legal basis for these measures. Still, even though those cases are now, some of them are almost 2 years, none of the criminal cases were initiated by the prosecutor office of those people who are surveilled. So we don't know why they were under the measures. Did they commit any crime, or did they did something against the security of this country? We don't know that. And on the other hand, we are still in the dark when we are talking about a legal response to the violation of their rights. So far, if I can conclude for this first round, we can definitely say that there is no protection against the use of spyware, that the spyware is illegal in our regarding to our legal framework. And there is a lot of work to be done, but I really think that the bigger question is how we can set free our institutions so we can resolve even this problem.
Thank you very much. You gave me a lot of info to ask actually Jelena. In the case when there is no legal protection and justice is quite slow, as Dušan said, the police is quite evidently, deliberately not ineffective in their investigation. How this affects those different groups, from journalists to activists, human rights defenders, how digital repression actually affects their everyday life. Can you give us an example on this?
I think from the conversations and the interviews that we have conducted, and obviously both Dušan and Filip and our respective organizations have interviewed and spoken or represented dozens and dozens of people who were affected by, I would say, this spyware scandal in Serbia. We can say that, as everywhere, digital surveillance has profoundly negative impact on people. It has a devastating impact on their personal life, in their professional life, but it also affects everybody who is in their network of contacts. So people who normally find out that they were targets of either a spyware attack, or in this case, people whose phones were subjected to these intrusive forensic examinations, felt very violated, vulnerable. In some cases, they knew that they had information and data or photographs on their phone which would reveal something about their personal life that they have not maybe revealed to even their closest family members or the people around them. I think in these cases, and in cases of most of us who today live on this digital life where our almost entire life is on our phone, knowing that someone has access to these very private spaces, which are now even more private than our apartments, has incredible effect on people who feel violated, whose sense of personal security feels violated as well. And I think the fact that that knowledge that the authorities have the potential information that they can use against you, information that could be potentially compromising, and even if it's not used against you right away, is incredibly paralyzing. I think in many cases people choose to change their behaviors. In some cases, people almost entirely withdraw from communicating or doing anything on their phones, or stop using internet. But I think I would say the unsettling effect is particularly visible for journalists who have also, apart from their own privacy, they also are communicating with many people who are their sources for many of the stories that they're writing. And just the fact that potentially some of the people in their network have been also exposed has had terribly chilling effect for many of the people that we have interviewed and who were affected by this. Apart from this personal effect, I would say a lot of people mentioned that their mental health is suffering, that they had incredible anxiety and panic attacks after this. I think many people had to really think through how they're working as well. I think people tend to initially self-censor themselves. And I'm not speaking just about the journalists, but I think even many of the activists decided to kind of tone it down, to maybe not pick too many fights, or because of their families decide, like you, Alexander, to completely withdraw from some of the activism. I think in other cases, people have doubled down, but I think in any case, this decision that people have to make, whether they're going to withdraw or self-censor or carry on, is incredibly difficult one, because if you decide to carry on, I think you need to accept the risks that come with your continued engagement. And I think, and face the consequences, which I think is not easy for many people, but I think it's particularly the people who have families who have to think this in a way that I think is different from many of the young activists who maybe don't have families or are not from small areas, small towns. And I think people who come from much smaller environments where support system is not the same as in Belgrade, where they know that they and their family members can lose jobs after one of these episodes, and where they don't have the access to legal aid like many people have in Belgrade. I think they're more likely to withdraw from some of these activities. I have to say that I really, in my experience in Serbia, most people have really doubled down, and this is amazing. There's like certain spite in many people here, but I think it was also good that through all of our collective engagement, and I'm talking here about 10 different NGOs, many of who are sitting here, the fact that we've really raised awareness and spoke about these issues has helped kind of bring all this problem to the light of the day. And I think there was certain solidarity that and common action that helped individuals come out, because this has never happened to us in our experience, that people who were targeted actually want to be named and identified for the report. I mean, we literally had to speak to people to ask them not to be identified, but everybody wanted to be identified, and almost everyone accepted to be part of the criminal complaints that were filed. And I think this is really important. And just the final point, so it's not just a personal effect and professional, but also, as I said, the people in their network, not only your family members who are communicating with you every day. One of the people who was exposed to the spyware attacks, and obviously we saw this as both LabSHARE Foundation and Amnesty, when we did forensic analysis of these phones. I mean, they were looking at the photographs of her child and like really personal details, her activity on social media and similar. And I think all of this makes people reconsider how they're communicating with their family, with their networks. I think for activists it's particularly difficult because there are a lot of people in their networks, all of whom are compromised by somebody looking in one person's phone, because all of these activities are now suddenly exposed. And as I said, for journalists, the people that, the journalists who were affected by this have decided to stop using phone to communicate with their sources and are instead meeting in dark alleys with their sources nowadays, which is really ridiculous given the access to media that we have, that could really make this communication much easier. So I think just to conclude, it is a really significant impact, and it's a negative impact, and it does not help that there's no access to redress at all in Serbia.
I will turn to Zuzanna just to hear Polish experience, because you mentioned like disinformation actually created confusion, installed fear, and we heard like from Jelena experience, it could influence speech and passivization of certain activities, but also publicity and solidarity is a line of defense to how to address it. Can you tell us more about Polish experience, other experience? What are the consequences, long-term or short-term, and how do you fight with this information?
Okay, I would like to say also and give you another example from Poland, because in 2022, as we know, as the war started in Ukraine, millions of refugees, they crossed our border, and right after that, thousands of new accounts appear almost overnight and started to divide our societies with, claiming that Ukrainians, they were taking our jobs, that they were receiving privileges more than Polish, and they disrespect Polish. And also the same posts on social media were in Ukraine about the Polish people. And almost, I think, 30%, according to the reports, 30% of that comments came from pro-Russia or Russian accounts. And that was the goal, to divide us and to start a new war, informational war. And we know in Poland that the real threat, that the Russia is a real threat, that the disinformation we have is a real thing. Because we have organizations which educate people, we have institutions, also from the government or who are not. Like I will give now not example, but those institutes, they published analyses, reports, and they spread it into the social media so the people know what is fake news, what is manipulation, and how works propaganda. And I think it's very important because according to the research also, the news based on anger and extreme emotions, and which are highly controversial, they spread faster and they reach more audience in social media. So I think it's good to know that kind of threats, and that we must learn, because we are all the users of social media, that we must know how to prevent it from society's point as a users, and also to have agencies, institutions, and organizations which can educate us in that key terms, and to spread and publish things which are like analyses or reports which are from the verified sources, because this is also an important thing. And I think it's very important for us to have regulations, and we have the regulations like from European Union and inside Poland also, but also we must take care of our trust in society and trust in journalists, so we can believe them whenever is it true or false, and start to to be more awareness about the disinformation.
Thank you. I'll turn to Dušan, following also what both Jelena and Zuzanna said, and to ask you actually, how does this constant monitoring and online intimidation actually influences our fundamental rights, our people's ability to speak, to gather, to participate in different initiatives at the public and especially in decision making.
I think that both of the speakers touch upon the something that you are asking me right now, so I can definitely rely on their answer and to just say that it definitely has that chilling effect. And maybe I will give you a different perspective because of course that when you find out that you are surveilled, of course that you are, in that case, afraid what they will do with your information. Are those information going to leak to the tabloids? Are you going to be, you know, all over the news and all the smearing campaign that many activists and civil society organizations experience on themselves in the past 2 years are just the perfect example of how you can use all those data. But we definitely always have to look at the surveillance as just one part of the pressure on the activist and civil society organization. This is just one pretty sophisticated part of the pressure, and it should be look like that as a complementary piece to the overall push of the government to impose that chilling effect on anyone who is having any critical voice regarding the government. I will just give you one example from the victim of the spyware on behalf of that student. We initiated also criminal procedure, but when he was in the police station, of course they took his phone away, and while he was interrogated by the police officers, they did many things with their phone, extracting the data. But he was in police station for over 6 hours. He was really pushed hard to give them information that he did not have. They were asking him if he was financed from abroad, if he's in contact with some persons that are portrayed as spies. They were threatening him and to his family. So we are not talking only about the violation of the right to privacy. Here we are in the field of the torture, extortion of the testimony. So when we are talking about the surveillance, we should definitely see it as a form of pressure, and we can definitely see that people are reacting differently. You know, you have some brave people that when they found out that they were surveilled, their attitude changes like, okay, now they cannot have anything on me and I will go all in for my goals, but some are just going to step back because they're afraid of their lives and their families. So if we are talking about the impact, definitely we can see that in our everyday communication. Okay. Just one sentence. Since 2023, when we found out the attempt of Pegasus attack on civil society activists, I think that entire civil society changed the way it communicates among each other. So
that's a good thing. It helped us also to improve in a way. So as we said, like it's okay to feel fearful, you know, to feel fear. But one of the things we hear from the protests in Serbia, especially, that fear has changed the sides. So I want to ask you, Filip, about this kind of like strategies, different strategies from technological, communication-based, community-based, legal, and so on. What kind of strategies are proving most effective actually in defending civil space and empowering those who are exposed to surveillance? We have seen like we had to change communication. The other learn not to bring telephones to the police station if they are arrested. What other strategies do you think is worth mentioning?
Yeah, thanks. Well, we shouldn't have to do these things, unfortunately. I don't know, I think this building trust among civil society and civil society organizations and medias and citizens, and this kind of proactive work is the most important strategy. I think, like, for us, we wouldn't be able to do any of these things. We wouldn't get trust from the civil society if we weren't here for the last 10 years, like giving support pro bono to everyone. To be honest, like, whenever we were called by anyone with any kind of cyber incident, issue, like anything like that, they're even without the incident, if someone feels anything like any kind of fear that is under surveillance, we would just reply, go to them, talk to them, like check their devices, give them VPN licenses, whatever, do whatever we can. And over time, somehow the trust was built, because it's not easy to give someone their whole life to get copied to your device and then like check for indicators of compromise or any kind of issues on the phone. So what I can see now is that we are not working enough together. So basically, me personally, for the last 2 years, I'm really trying to make more relationships with journalists and media organizations. The problem is that we are all like having more to do than we have time. And this is actually their strategy, the strategy of those who oppress us and who surveil us. Actually, what are the main reasons why they deploy spyware and surveillance technologies? Of course, to gather some intelligence and be like ahead of us, which is not fair because these technologies are not like legal. Someone's using a computer virus to like put it into your computer, and they get this advantage. So actually, these technologies give power to those who are already in power, which is not so good. Also, they get like some kind of different kinds of material or data which they can use to blackmail us. Also, they're of course giving us this chilling effect we were all talking about. And in the end, a really important thing is that it's just, sorry, what was my last point? Yeah, finally, they make our jobs harder. This is why I started talking about it. So basically, because all of this, we need all like 20% more time in the day to deal with cybersecurity stuff, even we're not under attack. We have to do all these like protocols and, you know, like some policies, internal policies. We have to go through all our stuff all the time, checking our devices, you know, like helping others do it. Recently, Dušan just told you about some interview that first happened in this case that we're having last year. So basically, the target mentioned my name for some reason, even that we had this like non-disclosure agreement signed. So now I'm going to be called for some informal interview with these guys. I really don't want to do this. So now our whole team is prepping me for this interview, you know, which is like the whole process. Everything is like they just get you into this, you know, and take your energy and resources and everything. So yeah, I mean, just we have to work more together and to try to like break this and to somehow promise them that they will get accounted for once we change these guys in the government. I think the good strategy would be some kind of, I don't know, it's some kind of lustration, or how's it called, like just catch everyone that was deploying these technologies and put them into prison. I mean, maybe this sounds harsh, but I think this would be a good strategy for the ones that are coming to rule. Like someone needs to get accounted for because there's no accountability at all.
Since we are approaching to the end of the panel and to leave a little bit of room for participants, because it's a full-packed room, thank you for bearing with us until the end. I just want to ask you all last round of questions and feel comfortable to respond to those questions you prefer. But the thing I want to actually stress is the wars happening around the world are somehow testing ground and laboratory for different kind of surveillance technology and techniques, and they always are an expert product. So many of the equipment and surveillance technologies that are used in Palestine, Gaza, are later exported by Israel, even to us and to others. In that sense, I would like to actually your comments, given the that surge of surveillance technologies around the globe. Do you have that are mostly used under the guise of national security or public safety? Do you have a feeling that we are witnessing the creation of new digital authoritarianism globally, and do we fit in this image? And what to do, actually, how society can push back to prevent from becoming irreversible. And your final thoughts and recommendation, do you think that there is any kind of space and room for ethical innovation of surveillance technologies, or we should ban these technologies outright? The order you're pleased, please join.
Maybe I can just break down about the digital authoritarianism, or we like to call it digital dictatorship. It sounds much better. So it's of course it's this surveillance thing. So we have this mass surveillance and targeted surveillance technologies. We have these information disruptions we were talking about, Zuzanna, especially with these misinformation campaigns and saturating all this online space. Then we have this censorship and content filtering. So these first two, we already have this in our region, Serbia. Then we have this censorship and content filtering, which is somewhat here already. We have some it's creeping in actually, because we do have some laws. You cannot bet online on like foreign betting websites. So there is technology that you can get deployed also to block on other websites if you want to. There's also a case at the moment in Albania where TikTok was banned recently by using the deep packet inspection technologies from Israeli. So basically they're managing to scan even encrypted data packets to like block and filter content, and this is creeping in also here and really close. And we have internet blackouts in all around the world. I mean, in more repressive regimes around the world, but maybe yesterday you felt a bit of it when the Cloudflare thing happened, so maybe you were not able to access all the websites. For me, it was kind of scary, you know, to not be able to access half of the internet. This is something that the digital dictatorship actually employed, like internet blackouts. Hopefully we'll not have them legal or abused anytime soon. And then finally, we have these social scoring systems, like as in China. This is a typical digital dictatorship thing, like where you rank people, like how they behave, and give them some services or not based on this. So what is interesting in that in Serbia we already have technology for this. We're not using it, so we have to like really be mindful of this if this is going to start being used. So my dear colleagues, they just finished the research, which is called something System at Risk. So they were analyzing advanced technologies deployed by the government in Serbia. It will be out in a few days. And they made a lot of mostly desk research stuff, and they have some recommendations. But what I can see, like from the side, is that actually the main finding is that we don't know anything about what our government is doing. That actually neither they're doing much, but they're talking a lot that they're doing a lot of stuff with AI and stuff. They're leaders in AI. There's nothing really going on, but it's a whole big narrative about this digitalization and everything. So we actually know nothing, and we don't need actually AI or other advanced technologies to abuse data and technology, to use algorithms to oppress people. So the technology is already here, and we know that whenever, if there is any kind of surveillance technology, the technology that can be used for surveillance and control, it will be used for surveillance and control, especially in Serbia. So we need more data, original data, we need to dig deeper into these investigations and research and try to uncover what they're up to, because if not, the digital dictatorship or authoritarianism will be like here, like full scale very soon.
Dušan, your thoughts?
My thought may be from a different perspective, because we have experience in maybe 7 or 8 years to talk about various human rights with the high school students. And I will bring back from this perspective, because I really think that the education is key to be the answer to everything that is going on, that this rapid evolving of the digital technology and misuse of the ones who are able to have those technologies, and the lack of regulation at this moment for various things. I really think that there is a need for the education for the people, just to avoid this common sentence, I don't have anything to hide. And the acceptance of technology only from the surface, and not just to get a layer down below the surface to know what is this technology capable of. Because when you're talking with the high school students, they're like, okay, I don't care if I have targeted ads from the Instagram, because it will allow me to buy the shoes that I want. But when we were trying to explain them what bulk of information they are collecting about them and how and what the implications can be, I think that they're starting to be aware of that. But I really think that when we are talking about education, it should be a large-scale education. And I really think that when people know their rights, they can be the opposite side who will pressure the ones who are misusing technology, just to be on we cannot escape the digital world that we are living in. But we have to model it to be in line with the human rights.
Thank you, Jelena.
No, I actually completely agree with that. I think one is not to normalize these abuses, so we need to speak about them, we need to speak about the rights, we need to speak about the rights of people and obligations of the states. But I also think that just like artificial intelligence is here to stay, and it is our future, so are all of these digital technologies. So rather than speaking about completely banning them, I think that's not an area where we should go, because we're going to lose that battle. I think we need to figure out the ways how this kind of, to ensure that this technology is regulated. And I think we don't need to reinvent the wheel here, because we do know that any of these technologies that are used in a way that restricts any of the basic human rights can only be used if they're absolutely necessary. And what does that mean? That means that we should use them only if there are no other less intrusive means to accomplish exactly the same aim. So in all of these cases, the authorities were supposed to provide a solid justification as to why surveillance of this type was necessary, except they haven't. This is such a routine thing in Serbia. I think the prosecutors and judges are just signing whatever is served before them. But I think ensuring that these justifications are provided, that this sort of surveillance is used under strict conditions only when it's regulated by law, when it's proportionate, so it does not, basically, the information that it targets is only the information that is strictly necessary for that particular investigation, not everything in your children's photos and your social media activity and similar, and that there are appropriate safeguards and oversight. And yes, Dušan spoke about that. This is all so difficult to achieve in a country where there's such a degree of state capture as in Serbia, and where rule of law is has been degraded to such a degree. But I think there is no way. I still think speaking about this as we speak today, the fact that we are pursuing accountability in variety of ways and putting huge pressure on the authorities, I think they are under pressure from this, and I think they're in a very uncomfortable position when they speak with embassies and the EU and various companies, because we know that. But I think there is no way to hide from this. We just need to push for better regulation, and not only on paper, but actual implementation of all of these wonderful laws.
Thank you. Zuzanna, your main takeaways.
Thank you very much. I don't think that banning an applications or the new technologies, it's a good thing. And because we are all users of social media to communicate also, but we must learn how to do it in a responsible way and to verify facts. And also, disinformation campaigns are anything new. They were from centuries in our lives, so it's a good thing to know just the social media case is that they spread much faster and reach more audience. In 1 second we can spread message, it can be everywhere on the world. And that's why it's more stronger. And the process of verifying whenever it's a true or false is much slower. So that's why we need to know where we can verify those facts and to know that emotional and highly controversial news and posts, they should be checked because that's how the disinformation works. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed and find it valuable as much as I do. I thank all of my speakers, and I invite you to present yourself, ask a question to anyone, and share your comments or questions, please. Anyone is an icebreaker? Please do.
Okay, I'm Massimo Moratti from Osservatorio Balcani Caucaso. A question for Filip and more also for Dušan. I think you partially answered already because a few years ago there was the issue of the Chinese cameras, surveillance cameras that are identifying people. So was there any work done on that? This is one thing. And then talk about digital intimidation. Again, I think it was a couple of years ago, we were talking about 14,000 fake Twitter and TikTok accounts that were the Excel sheets that were organized by the party. Was there any investigation into that or any report, or is still ongoing while we are speaking?
The first one was regarding the cameras. Mm-hmm. Is that right? As far as I know, regarding the Smart City project, mm-hmm. I think that we are stuck in that process because Commissioner for the Data Protection, I think. He returned the report on the effect on human rights to the Ministry of Interior twice, stating that it was not in a well manner put out what the implication on human rights those cameras will have. And Filip, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that at the end, Ministry of Interior never produced this type of report stating what would be the safeguards and how they will limit the implication on human rights and potential violation of human rights. If you have anything to add, please.
Yeah, it's actually by the law of personal data. They have to make, data protection, they have to make this risk assessment, which they never did properly. And then the law of, the new law of Ministry of Interior was actually, was put back for 2 times. And they didn't manage to legalize like the biometric surveillance, actually facial recognition, and now they're supposedly not using it still, even if they bought it, they're not using it.
So,
officially.
Yeah.
Officially.
Do we have any information or signs that these were used in the last year with so many protests?
We don't have any proofs. We have like people were guessing because some of the activists were getting the fines for misdemeanor crossing the streets or whatever. Like even that they were not ID'd by the police. So then everyone thinks that they're using facial recognition. Probably they're not. It's just, again, one of their tactics to spread the fear among protesters, you know. So they even enjoy it that we don't know that if the system is working or not, like in Panopticon, you know. Even we even don't know, but we do behave. We're not going to go to protest because we don't want to get fined.
But regarding these misdemeanor cases, I know that a lot of misdemeanor courts dismissed the cases because they were based on unlawfully collected evidence. So on that side, we have the case law, and we have a couple of decisions of the courts, local courts, regarding those cases. And what was the second question?
About the 14,000
Troll farm.
for account.
Do you know?
Yeah, at the moment also something similar is happening exactly right now, because there are a lot of bot accounts like attacking these like activists and students accounts, and now we can see these days that platforms like Meta and Twitter X are removing a lot of these accounts. They have their own like strategies, but a few years ago, back then, there was a report by both companies about like how many accounts they've removed, and they connected them directly actually with the ruling party. So it was their own report, like independent. It's not like civil society, it's something like writing about it or researching, but it was basically both Facebook/Meta and Twitter that reported, and they removed a lot of their accounts. I hopefully it's also happening at the moment right now.
Please.
My question was actually, my name is Sara. I'm mainly doing analytical work on Eastern Horn and the Horn of Africa, so not in this part of the world. But my question was mainly related to that. I'm following many Palestinian accounts, and of course Meta is censoring quite a lot of Palestinian accounts. They are being shadow banned, and some of the profiles just vanish all of a sudden. And also some of my friends who are activists, their Instagram accounts just died somehow. And then some of them managed to return them, some did not. Is our government using the same kind of spyware or systems, and how does it work? I mean, I'm a total digital idiot, so maybe this is a stupid question. Is it like a machine behind it, or like a ton of people who are behind something and just attacking a profile? How does it work? If somebody can explain.
I will give you just one sentence because I don't have many information regarding what the state is doing. But yesterday I was in Aleksinac, and there was a local organization, and their Facebook account was deleted by the Facebook, and it didn't have any inappropriate content. So it's definitely, they said that they were willing to express their opinion regarding the protest, regarding the student protest. And therefore, I really think that it was some, in a way, organized action to report the inappropriate content. And that was immediate reaction from the Facebook bot. I didn't like that they didn't engage themselves to write to Facebook and to prove them that all the content on their profile was in line with their terms of use, and to regain their profile back. So that's why I said that the education is key. They didn't know that they can write to Facebook and to prove that it is not an inappropriate content.
But even if you do, you will not. I will share just like personal example, because my account on Twitter was suspended, saying that I violated all the rules, which means like posting sexual from pedophile to, violent things. I think it was related also to sharing Israel-Palestine content. I did address and wrote several times to X, but they said after reviewing even my remarks and complaint, they suspended it eternally. Yeah, so I had to, start a new account, but then I realized that targeted, when you're targeted, I receive on a daily level some kind of bots presented as a pro-Palestine accounts, and every time they actually follow my account, I try to actually block, because it's it's a way how they influence that you're shadow banned in terms of that your visibility is reduced. So it's still happening. I believe it's a tactic. It's very hard to actually deal with this kind of things.
Yeah, probably Palestine, Israel stuff, it's moderated by these platforms. When it comes to this happening right now in Serbia, it's mostly state-sponsored attacks, which are actually happening the way that someone from the government is actually paying some guys to do these operations. And these guys, they go to dark web, darknet, they buy a lot of these accounts and they operate with them. You know, they send them to follow the student accounts, like 15,000 of them. And then even only if they follow with the fake accounts, the platform would flag it as something like not really good, and they will maybe remove the account temporarily, or I don't know, like check what's going on. But there are some measures that we can take. Actually, there are international organizations like Access Now, which deal with these issues. So actually, we also communicate with them. So whenever someone from the civil society has issues with their online accounts, they also come to us, and then we vet for some organizations, and then they talk to Meta, Google, and Twitter and tell them, okay, these are legitimate accounts, you can put them back. So this is a constant fight, but it's also a great sign that we need to get rid of these platforms. So we need to get off Facebook, Meta, Google, Twitter, everything as soon as possible, because it's a big black box. We don't control it, we don't control our data, we don't control our followers. We need to switch to other means of communication with our communities and societies, do more of mailing lists, try to use more blue skies, mastodons, whatever, just try to break out as soon as possible.
Any other question? No? Okay, I will thank you. We will now, there is a coffee break outside, but before we go out, I just want to say that after the coffee break, in the room of 16, there will be a closed-door workshop for participants who deal with more in depth on digital repression and security protocols. So I will just remind you to move to the room 16 after the coffee break to workshops. Thank you very much.